Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Something Cool News, the Daily X today. Big news being reported out of Port Coquitlam as contenders for the forthcoming November 15th municipal election in Port Coquitlam have been announced. It appeared on page 8 of all places of the Tri-City News today that Greg Moore, Councilor Greg Moore, is interested in running for mayor of Port Coquitlam in this fall's election. Now, there are rumblings of some other mayors to be contenders that want to run as well. They put their names forward, but Moore, as far as I'm aware, is the only candidate thus far to officially put his name to run against, to run in Port Coquitlam's fall election. Now, there is no word yet if Scott Young is attempting to run, has plans to run, will run, but certainly he has not left any option off the table, and he very well may be running against Greg Moore this fall in the Port Coquitlam elections. Joining us live tonight on the phone to discuss this issue, I am joined by none other than the Critic-in-Chief for the Port Coquitlam area at all. He probably knows more about Port Coquitlam than anyone else. I'm talking about Patrick Alambets. Patrick, thank you for granting us this interview. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing quite well myself. You've heard the news today then that Greg Moore is planning to run in this fall's election for the mayor's chair. What is your immediate reaction to that particular announcement?
Well, Greg Moore doesn't talk to me. He hasn't talked to me since the meeting on the Coastal Marine overpass at Kilmer's School, where I made a joke he didn't like. I said the crowd was unhappy, but I didn't see any growth. Got offended. You know, Greg Moore gets quite offended.
So he's a bit of a fuddy-duddy.
Well, you know, he ran on the basis of he had the support of the mothers of Port Coquitlam. A man that has that much nursing is milk-fed, but milk-fed is never tough.
Well, a lot of people have said there are some criticisms that Greg Moore is not actually all that different from Scott Young, and some have suggested that perhaps Greg Moore may have learned some of his political leanings from the embattled mayor of Port Coquitlam. That, of course, I'm talking about Scott Young.
Well, I know they don't like each other, but that may be because they're so much alike. You know, I've often thought of Greg Moore as Scott Young's spiritual understudy. You know, I don't know whether he's going to take wife-beating lessons from Scott Young. You know, whether that's now going to be a requirement in a mayor of Port Coquitlam or...
Well, oh wow, that's interesting. A spiritual understudy. I'm almost at a loss for words there. I want to get your reaction to a quote that Moore made. He said in an interview with the Tri-City News, he said, "I think it is important that people lay out their intentions and let people know what they want to do so that we can debate right now in the open." He was referring to other candidates who might be running. He wants to know who they are, and pretty darn quick.
You mean you think Greg Moore wants to debate me?
I don't know. I mean, are you thinking about perhaps running against some of these folks? I mean, you have said yourself that there's almost no difference among any of these members of City Council, and that you don't think any of them are really fit to be in the mayor's chair. If they were to run, I mean, Greg Moore has announced that it's official. Do you have any plans to perhaps repeat your 2004 attempt to win the mayor's chair in Port Coquitlam?
You know how wonderful that attempt was. So I'd rather not repeat that attempt. Thank you.
Well, perhaps with a different result.
Sorry?
Perhaps with a different result.
Well, you mean would I like to be mayor of Port Coquitlam?
Yes.
No, I would not like to be mayor of Port Coquitlam. I think they've made a huge mess, and I think that it's going to come back on the city in the next 3 years. No, I don't want to be sitting in that chair. I think that's just where the sewage is going to come up fastest. So, you know, like, I'm quite willing to sit at the back and watch.
But if Greg Moore were to run for the election unopposed, like Scott Young did in the last election, you might think about putting your name in for just so that Greg Moore doesn't win by acclamation.
You know, you create a real problem when yes, Greg Moore can't run unopposed. True. And if nobody else is running against him, then I guess I'm running against him. In spite of my preference to not, I can't imagine that I can get elected mayor of Port Coquitlam any more than Belgier could get elected mayor of Abbotsford.
Well, that's true, actually. There's almost no chance of Tim being elected in Abbotsford, but your chances might be good. I mean, Scott Young is getting sentenced on July 25th. The sentencing date is coming up. It's going to be here before you know it. What do you expect to happen then?
Well, I think he's going to have to stay home nights. That's all.
Do you think that's going to be the only thing that happens?
Yes, that's all that's going to happen.
Well, Pat?
After something like 2 a.m., he's not going to be allowed out for 3 or 4 hours. except during a full moon.
Wow, you're harsh. You are a harsh man, but you know what? You're right more than you're wrong when it comes to these kind of issues. So I'm going to go with your gut instinct on this. Patrick, it's been good to talk to you tonight. I guess as a way of a final question to you, are you excited about this election this fall?
No.
Not even a little bit.
But, I think I can make the candidates meeting interesting for them.
Oh, you can certainly do that. There's no doubt. Well, you know what? We're going to try and get some comments from Greg Moore and his campaign manager, and I guess we'll see what they have to think about people thinking of Greg Moore as Scott Young's spiritual understudy. Should be interesting. Thanks, Pat, for your time.
You're welcome.
Take care.